If you're wondering why the camera's so close to my face right now, that is because my room is a disaster and I was too lazy to clean it. And I know what you're saying. You're saying that my face is a disaster too, but I can't help that and that's not my choice, so I'm gonna have to deal with it. Hey guys, what is up? Today I am back with another reacting to your scary stories video because you guys love these so much. Just love torturing me and make me read scary stories when I'm by myself because you know how much that terrifies me. But that is what we are doing today. I feel like we're gonna have a lot more scary, spooky videos coming up soon because it's gonna be my birthday month, October. It is obviously the month of Halloween, so that's a fun thing too. I know you guys saw the title of this video and you guys have been begging me to bring Loie and Haley to Mary's grave because you loved that video that I did so much. It will be in the link description below. And I did just that for you guys. I brought them there and that series is coming out within the next few days. So you guys are going to love that. And that's why I wanted to tell the true story of Mary's grave because someone actually enlightened me about it. I figured I'd throw that in there too and give that to you guys as well. Don't forget to give this video a big thumbs up and subscribe, and yeah, let's get right into the spooky video. If you guys hear something, it's my grandma's TV. She lives in the apartment on the other side of that wall, so I'm sorry about that, but... So this first story is from Kareem, so thank you so much, Kareem. And they say that this is the story of Veronica Invisible. While I was in college, I stayed at the dorms. Not many people lived in the dorms while I was attending because the school was relocating soon. So for that reason, everyone kind of knew everyone. There wasn't a single person that I've never talked to or at least seen. During the nighttime, usually after 12 a.m., I'd go down to the lobby to get away from my roommates or to do homework. One day while I was down there, I seen this girl sitting in the lobby. She was wearing an oversized pink sweatshirt with black basketball shorts. Her hair was black, pulled into a bun, and her skin was pale, almost lifeless. She sat there, pulling at the strings on her shirt. I never seen her before, but I assumed she stayed in the dorms because the only way in the building was to scan your ID card and walk past security. So obviously, she went there. I figured she was new and probably bored because people don't just hang out in lobbies. I walked up to her to introduce myself, and I noticed that she looked a little out of it, like she was unaware that I had approached her. I brush it off and decide to introduce myself. She doesn't even look at me, but she smiles and told me her name is Veronica. I sit on the sofa across from hers and continue to talk to her. Her voice was very faint and soft. At times I could barely make out what she was saying. For the most part, the conversation was normal. Well, except for a few moments where her answers didn't make any sense. Also, she never looked at me directly, but I figured she was just shy. I asked her where she was from and she told me she couldn't remember. I thought I heard her incorrectly, so I asked again, and she repeated that she couldn't remember. I thought it was strange, but I figured she just didn't want to talk about where she was from, so I decided to move on. The next response that was weird was when I asked Veronica what her major was. She told me that she isn't sure yet and that she was meeting with someone tomorrow to decide. That was extremely weird because at the school I went to, you had to pick a major before attending. I'm not sure how most colleges work, but that's how mine worked at the time. This next response was the creepiest. When I asked her what floor she lived on, she paused. She finally looked directly at me with zero emotion. I could see into her big dark eyes glaring at me, but I didn't look away. She responded and said, "I used to live on the 10th floor, but now I live in the basement." I wasn't sure how to respond. I just asked her, "The basement?" Veronica stands up and says, "Yes, the basement. I live there with the rest of the Invisibles." Oh my god, I got the chills. She paused as if she remembered something. She then says that she has to go and for me to have a good night. I watched her walk toward the security desk and down the hallway, where the elevators were placed. From where I was sitting, I couldn't see down the hall. I just waited a couple of seconds so that she could get on the elevator and go. I wanted to go back to my room, but I didn't want to be stuck on the elevator with her. I must have sat there for 5 minutes before realizing that she didn't get on. I never heard the elevator doors, and she couldn't have taken the stairs because they weren't down that hallway. I never took my eyes off the hallway, so she couldn't have walked out and left. I was convinced she was standing there waiting. Eventually I get up and walk past the hallway just to see if she was still there. She wasn't. I was so scared at this point I went to talk to the security guard on duty. Jason was a campus security guard and was really cool with the students. I walked up to him and started to tell him about Veronica, but he had no idea who I was talking about. I go on to explain that she was just down there talking to me, but he'd never seen her. In fact, he said when he looked over at us in the lobby, it was just me there, talking to myself. I thought he was just joking with me, but he even looked at the monitor and it was just me talking to nothing. He figured I was just venting to myself. Me. When I tell you that my heart sank, I could feel my heart beat into my toes. He then let me look at the live cameras to show me that no one was up or wandering around. I didn't know what to think, but I was convinced she was real. After talking to Jason, I head up to my room. I took the stairs because I was too afraid to take the elevator alone. The stairs were creepy too though. I make it to my room and question my roommates about Veronica, but no one had any idea who she was. The rest of the night was normal. The next day, still shook from the last night, I went to talk to our head of housing, Curtis. I asked him about all the new students that moved into the dorm and told him that I met Veronica last night. He didn't seem to know who I was talking about, so he pulled up a list of all the new students that had moved in. Literally no one new or old lived in the dorms named Veronica. I go to tell him about what happened last night, and he's a bit concerned. He tells me that the basement of the dorms had been unused for years. He couldn't even remember the last time he's been in there. He jokes around and tells me that we could go check it out if I wanted to. But I was like, hell no. If Veronica wants to live in the basement, let her. I want no part of it. So maybe a month goes by, and Veronica has not been seen since that day. I thought she was just going to be a distant memory. I thought. One day I head back to my room and my roommate lets me know that someone stopped by and left me a note. He hands me the note. I open it. It literally says, "Thanks for noticing me. Veronica, invisible." Still to this day, I'm so scared. I'm convinced I was talking to some sort of spirit. Fortunately, I've never crossed paths with her again, but that building is gone now. I wonder who she was. Okay, I literally have the chills. So insane, because obviously she doesn't seem like a scary or mean spirit, but the whole idea of it just literally scares me. It's so terrifying, because you always think of spirits, you always think of like murderers breaking into your house, but you never think of like, I don't know, I took it as like another dimension. Something that I'm always so scared of is like falling into another dimension and like people not being able to see or hear me, and like I'm just stuck here for the rest of like eternity and no one being able to see or hear me, and I'm just like here alone, miserable, like invisible. That just freaked me out. So that story was very interesting. But yeah, let's move on to the next one. Thank you so much, Kareem, for that. Okay, this next one is from Chelsea. I'm not gonna say her last name in case like she doesn't want it in there. I don't know, but I'll message her and see if she wants me to share her Instagram in the description or whatever. She says this is actually her friend's story that gave her such goosebumps that she wanted to share. This one's called The Ghost Diner, and I was like, hello, I have to read this one because I'm literally at the diner every night, and like, why not make myself more miserable? You know, like when I just want to escape and go eat some chicken fingers, like why not shed some misery on myself, you know what I mean? So we're gonna read this one. A friend of mine used to this one's actually really short. Okay. A friend of mine used to live out in Texas, and he has stories for days about the things that he has seen. But this one is my favorite. Okay, the weirdest things always happen like in the desert. My family has so many crazy stories from like Arizona because they used to live there. Maybe I'll do a video on that. But it's like all like crazy stuff. Anyway, he and his friend were heading out to a party. It was late, dark, and they were very lost. They saw a diner that was lit, filled with people, and had cars in the parking lot. They decided to stop and ask for directions. When they pulled up to get out and they got closer to the diner, they noticed that something was very wrong. Everyone was just frozen in place. Not one person was moving. Even people in mid-bite. They just stood there not sure what they were seeing. All of a sudden, every single person simultaneously turned their heads and stared at them. Obviously super freaked out, they jumped in the car and sped away. If that wasn't freaky enough, the next day, as they drove past this diner during the day, it was boarded up and abandoned, like it hadn't been in business for years. Okay, that was the shortest story ever, but it literally gave me the chills. And actually, that's actually crazy because I literally just talked about my family in Arizona, but my grandma, not the grandma you guys met, it's this grandma. She's actually a very serious woman. She has a story almost identical to that one about when she lived in Arizona, and she lived in Arizona for 12 years, I think like in the 80s, but like I'm like really freaked out that I was just talking about Arizona and then I read this story and it's almost identical. Like I don't know if you guys can see, but I literally have the chills. That's so freaky. I don't know, that was a genuine reaction. I don't know what more to say, but that I feel like I have to tell that story now. I'll get more information from my grandma, but that's crazy. So thank you, Chelsea, for sharing that. Okay, this story is called A Spirit Almost Set My House on Fire, and I just read like the first few lines, and it said that it started with them playing a Ouija board, and I just want to read it because literally, don't use Ouija boards. This should be an example. Erin, you learned, I'm sure you learned. Guys, don't use Ouija boards. I honestly don't even know why. I know I never wanted to, but then especially after being friends with Loie and Haley, I know I never want to. Don't use them. Okay, it started with me and my friends playing with the Ouija board. We were talking to a spirit that likes being around us and would sometimes follow us. The spirit was a rather negative and bad spirit, so what happened was not out of the blue. We asked her if she could flicker the candle that was in the room. This was a crackle candle, so sparks would fly a little bit, but it was never enough to get the flame out of the jar. When we asked her to move the flame, she did it, and it danced around, and we looked in amazement. We eventually asked her to stop and put away the board. Maybe 5 minutes later, the candle started acting up. This time more violent, jerky movements. And not only this, but several of the plants in my room also started to wiggle and shake. This became so evil and violent that I blew out the candle and the lights flicked and my hanging plants were spinning so violently as if they had been pushed with a massive amount of force. The smoke from the candle was so extreme that the fire alarm in my room went off. And at this time, little sparks were coming from the candle and out of the candle jar. It sounds like something from a movie, but it was one of the most terrifying experiences of my life. Till this day, the plants will wiggle if I light any of my candles. It's a different spirit that does it now, and I'm no longer scared of it. Okay, that literally sounds like a shit show. I would never light a candle again. Oh my god, if a spirit ruined candles for me, I would be so mad. I love candles. I literally have one there and over there. Like, I would be so mad. But yeah, that's terrifying, and that's why you don't mess with Ouija boards. Thank you so much, Erin, for sharing that story. Okay, the next one is the real story of Mary's grave. This story I've actually heard before all throughout the years of living here on Long Island. You guys know the whole story of Mary's grave. I'm not gonna get into it again because I already have a video out about that, and I have a 2-part series coming out this weekend about it, so be excited. But this is the true story of it, and I just wanted to shed some light on it before we post the 2-part series. This is from Ellie Brune, and it's actually on my YouTube channel. She left it as a comment on my video. Again, that video is going to be in the description below if you want to check it out before I post the series. And yeah, here's the true story of Mary's grave. Okay, it's in really small font, so sorry if I like read it really poorly. So the story goes that Mary's mother died while giving birth to her. So right from the start, her father hated her. He had forced her into having sex with him, and that started very early. So the little well house, ooh, oh my god, this is so weird because it's literally about stuff that I was standing in. It's like real right now. So the little well house that she used as a playhouse was always something she would use to escape and to spend time in nature. But over time, while being abused, she started to go crazy, and that's when she started killing animals, starting with small ones, and then getting to bigger ones. Now keep in mind that her father was a really well-known, respected man in town, so no one expected anything wrong would be going on, and that he would be abusing her. One day, her dad gets home and calls her to his room for sex again, but she had enough. So she went to his room and murdered him with an axe or something big like that. And then she said, I never gotten the weapon straight. She killed him and then laid in bed and went to sleep. However, she never moved his body. She left his dead body sitting there for days on end, going to sleep every night next to her father that she murdered until the people in town started wondering where he went. One day, a few people who knew her father went to their house asking where he was and discovered his murdered body. And Mary was obviously caught. They put her to death and hung her from a tree by the house. So now they say if you go around her playhouse, and then in parentheses she says stupid guys would pee on it or mess around with this stuff there, Mary will keep your car from starting, run you off the road when you try and leave, and basically all this stuff that could trap you there or seriously harm you. So yeah, that's really creepy, especially since I went there and didn't know the full story. I knew it was something really messed up like that, but yeah, that is the full true story of Mary's grave, and I just wanted to share it with you guys because that is terrifying because it's supposedly true. So hate that. But yeah, with that being said, we are posting a 2-part series where we went to Mary's grave and we investigated everything, me, Haley, and Loey, and honestly, some really messed up things happened that could have possibly ended some of our careers. So if you guys want to see that, don't forget to subscribe and keep watching. If you guys like this video, don't forget to give it a big thumbs up, and don't forget to follow everyone whose stories I read in this video. Thank you guys so much for sharing your stories. All of their links are going to be in the description below. If you want me to react to one of your scary stories, send it to AndrewTMIViewers@gmail.com. That is also going to be in the description below. Follow me on all my social media, which is also gonna be in the description below, and don't forget to give this video a big thumbs up and subscribe. Yeah, until next week, I will see you guys next week. Bye!